Thank you, sir, for giving me this opportunity to chair the session. So our next speaker is Dr. Tanya Francis from Postgraduate and Research Department of Chemistry, Devagiri College, Calicut. Dr. Tanya Francis qualified PhD from the Cochin University of Science and Technology during 2013. After she worked as a postdoctoral fellow at IIT Delhi, she received several awards and honors, including the prestigious DST Fast Track Young Scientist Award 2008. She has more than 15 publications. Her area of interest are synthesis of polymer nanocomposites for biomedical application, synthesis of chromophoric organic cavity containing compounds, and so on. Today, she will be talking about the biodegradable solutions. With this short introduction, I welcome Dr. Tanya Francis for her talk. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammad Yusuf. Good afternoon to all. Padma Shri Professor T. Pradeep, Head Department of Chemistry, Dr. Kavita, faculty members of Department of Chemistry, Farook College, who are all my very dear friends, distinguished participants, resource persons, management and staff of Farook College, Mujib sir, Devdasan Masha, and dear students. Today, my talk would be concentrating on certain biodegradable solutions, which we'll check later. Before that, actually, I would like to share a passion that I cherish in my life, my research in the field of chemistry. And I dedicate this talk to my father, who has to a great extent unknowingly contributed to kindle this passion for research. മലയാളത്തിൽ ഒരു ചൊല്ലുണ്ട്, മുല്ലപ്പൂമ്പൊടി ഏറ്റുകിടക്കും കല്ലിനും ഉണ്ടാകും ഒരു സൗരഭ്യം. അപ്പോൾ ആ ഒരു നോട്ടിൽ I'll just start this talk. This biodegradable solution we came upon, we have explored during the past few years as part of our basic science research on developing plastics that are environment friendly. I'll start sharing my screen.
You can start now.
Can you see the slides?
Yes, it is coming. Yeah.
Please, full screen, please.
Yeah, you can maximize.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah, yeah.
So we have the college in the backdrop.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Let me check whether I think this is the slides are not moving.
You just click on the slide first and then move your cursor. It will be fine.
Actually, it is not moving. Ah, yes.
You just, it should be moving. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. The talk was classified under the following heads. 2020 being the year of polymers, plastics, an overview about what plastics are, whether biodegradable plastics are a solution, and the biocomposite, which we suggest as a biodegradable solution, and a few research findings. Why 2020 is marked as a year of polymers? The year 2020 marks an important milestone for polymer scientists all over the world in that 100 years since Hermann Schrödinger published the first article on polymerization titled Uber Polymerization. It was in 1920 that Schrödinger realized that polymers consist of long chains of covalently linked building blocks. Like all novel findings, he was also met with skepticism and criticism. It was his persistence and willingness to engage in scientific reasoning that actually marked the beginning of a diverse field of macromolecular and supramolecular science that has since flourished and contributed to life-changing innovations still impacting society today. Though he received the award in Nobel Prize in 1953 for this contribution, polymers, way back from even way before the vulcanization of natural rubber, which was discovered by Charles Goodyear, and followed by the first synthetic plastic, celluloid, which was discovered in 1869 by John Wesley Haight, who was inspired by a New York firm's offer of $10,000 for anyone who could provide a substitute for ivory. If we were also given such an option, probably we would all try a little bit on that, right? So the growing popularity of billiard balls prompted him to create an ivory-like material by treating cellulose derived from cotton fiber with camphor. This discovery was actually revolutionary. Advertisements praised celluloid as a savior of elephants and tortoise. Plastics then was projected as a material that could actually protect the natural world from destructive forces of human need. And the plastic revolution was only just getting started. This was then followed by the discovery of Bakelite by Leo Baekeland in 1907, the first fully synthetic plastic, and it was marketed as a material of 1,000 uses. Bakelite could be shaped or molded into almost anything, providing endless possibilities. That was till 1920 when Schrödinger started his theory with the covalent bonded molecules. After that also, work continued in the field of polymer science with the discovery of polylactic acid in 1920 by Wallace Carothers, discovery of polythene, which is attributed to Eric Fawcett and Reginald Gibson in 1933, and many other discoveries. Now we will just look at plastics. What are plastics? Plastics are actually, the word plastic is derived from the Greek word plastein, which means pliable and easily processable. Now, why plastics is a question that should be answered by the following points, showing that it is very convenient to use. It has a wide variety of different qualities ranging from rigid to flexible, clear to opaque. It is lightweight and it has got excellent strength and it is highly cost effective. And the most common plastics that we come across are PET or polyethylene terephthalate, high density polyethylene, low density polyethylene, PVC, polypropylene, polystyrene, etc. And these 6 polymers actually account for almost 97% of plastics that are being used in packaging industry, of which low density polyethylene tops the chart with high density polyethylene following suit. So this few facts about the pollutions that are caused by plastics. There are around 300 million tons of new plastic being produced every year for the use by the world population, and of which 50%, that is approximately 115 million tons, are actually single-use products. An estimated 4.8 to 12.7 million ton of this ends up in the world's ocean, as per the Ocean Care Journal of 2017. And 80% originates from land and 20% from, the fishing nets and ropes. Plastics that do not readily biodegrade accounts for almost 73% of litter in any aquatic ecosystem. Plastic debris in the ocean was observed in 1960, and Rachel Carson's 1962 book, Silent Spring, exposed the dangers of chemical pesticides as well. As awareness about environmental issues spread, the persistence of plastic waste began to trouble observers. The production of plastic is use around 8% of the world oil pollution, and they are basically petrochemical based and create non-degradable waste, generating what are considered to be significant environmental calamities like global warming, biomagnification, and the known degradation in the soil. Now we have to look at one of the cited sites of this garbage patch, which is there in the Great Pacific, is a collection of marine debris in the North Pacific Ocean. They litter, ends up in the ocean, seas, and other large bodies of water. And this actually spans from the west coast of North America to Japan. The immensity of this garbage patch is actually baffling all the oceanographers and ecologists. And they have discovered that about 70% of marine debris actually sink to the bottom. So what you're only seeing is only the 30% that is floating over the ocean. 70% of it is actually in the inside, in the bottom of the ocean. So this shocking revelation, we're speaking about Antarctic, which is supposed to be a very pristine and remote place. But even microplastics have been detected there. We don't need to talk about the world scenario. We saw what happened in 2019 floods in Kerala. You see that bridge in Kaladi, which was published throughout the newspapers across Kerala. Why this pollution? Caused by illegal dumping, inadequate waste management, what wastewater treatment plants cannot filter out microplastics or nanoplastics. And these are all put to the forefront by certain natural disasters in Manila in August 2018 and a massive flooding in Durban in South Africa in 2019. And with us in our courtyard in Kerala in 2019. So this kind of pollution problem brings us to evaluate the kind of degradation time that each of the plastic material that we actually use each day take. ACS Sustainable Chemistry has put forward this chart for accelerated and non-accelerated decay. And if you look at the chart given on the left side, a table given on the left side, you see that the styrofoam cup actually takes 50 years to decompose. A plastic beverage bottle takes 450 years. And a plastic film container that you're throwing out will take 20 to 30 years, almost one third or one fourth of your lifetime. And a plastic bag that you use takes around 20 years. So these are the kind of statistics that you are left with when you look at the degradation rates. What are the actual effects of these plastic to the human body? They have endocrine disrupting and other toxic leaching additives which are added during the manufacturing process. So the microplastics entering the human body via direct exposures through ingestion or inhalation can lead to an array of health impacts, including inflammation, genotoxicity, oxidative stress, which are linked to an array of negative health outcomes, including cancer, cardiovascular diseases, breathing problems, and autoimmune conditions, and even stroke. The addition of bisphenol A and phthalates, which go into the manufacturing process, making a plastic more flexible, durable, and transparent, has created a very bad reputation for plastics. That is, the reputation of plastics has suffered because of this increasing use of the pliability factors like phthalates and the bisphenol A. So can we look at, this is a picture of what Earth was and how it is according to the plastic pollution scenario. Now, can we look at biodegradable plastics as a solution? We have biodegradable plastics, which are decomposed by the action of living organisms, usually microbes, into water, carbon dioxide, and biomass. This is a portion which we get to study in the final semester of your BSc course. So this biodegradable plastics are commonly produced from renewable raw materials, and sometimes petrochemicals, microorganisms, or sometimes a combination of all these three. Okay, but so this petroleum-based plastics, we said, are derived from petrochemicals like say polyethylene, polyethylene terephthalate, polypropylene, polystyrene. These are not biodegradable. They are all petroleum-based. But the biodegradable plastics are degradable to a certain extent into water, carbon dioxide, and the biomass. The commonly advocated biopolymers are polyglycolic acid PGA, polylactic acid PLA, PLGA, polybutylene succinate, polycaprolactone, polyvinyl alcohol, and so on and so forth. Polylactide coglycolide is estimated to have a cost of 12,410, which is the highest among the cited biopolymers. And from the Indian context, the expense is so huge that we cannot think about using these biopolymers for any kind of application which can be economic to any extent. So we need to look at a better biodegradable solution, which is the biocomposites. Why biocomposites? If you ask me, biocomposite can be considered as a combination of a matrix and a very small quantity of a biofiller or biomaterial. This matrix can be an inexpensive petroleum-based plastic, so you can actually trigger biodegradability. The composite would be comparatively inexpensive and it has worldwide availability. Improved mechanical properties, it can be easily processed and has better recycling capability than the biopolymers. The matrices chosen for the study that we undertook in the lab are the high density polyethylene and ethylene covinyl acetate EVA. Why these matrices? Because they were cost effective, easily available, and it was used in various fields like medical fields, food packaging, electronics, etc. And they exhibited good physical, mechanical, electrical, and thermal properties. Biofillers chosen, there are many biofillers available, plant-based and animal-based. Plant-based, the common ones are the cellulose and starch. Animal-based are chitin and chitosan. And we have chosen cellulose and chitosan as the fillers for biofillers for our biocomposites. Now, moving on to few research findings, I hope this won't be too high above the heads for the junior members of the audience. The first work which we undertook in Devagiri as part of a PDF from Kerala State Council for Science, Technology and Environment awarded to Dr. E.K. Silvi was the utilization of arecanut leaf sheath fibers for the extraction of cellulose viscose. Aracanut എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുമ്പോൾ you think that it's something out of the world. It's just areca. The cultivation generates a lot of bioresidue like arecanut leaf sheath, arecanut husk, etc. Arecanut leaf sheath has been identified as a rich source of cellulose. The work demonstrated that the isolation of cellulose viscose from arecanut leaf sheath fibers can be carried out, and we were able to optimize the hydrolysis conditions and characterize the extracted cellulose fibers. This was actually the highlight of the work, was to actually make use of an agricultural waste material like the arecanut leaf sheath fiber and to produce the value added material like a cellulose nanoviscose, which can find a large amount of applications in various industries. So the first part of the processing was to separate the fibers, chopping the ANLS fibers, subjecting it to alkali treatment and bleaching. First, we were able to extract out pure cellulose. And then this pre-treated ANLS fiber was then subjected to hydrolysis using acids of various concentrations. And we were able to optimize the procedure, and we could get cellulose viscose with biosilica embedded in it. So that biosilica actually indicates that it can be added as a filler, which can actually enhance degradation of petrochemical based polymers. And we have cited the applications that can be utilized, that can utilize the extracted cellulose, but then a few problems arose when we started mixing cellulose with the polymer matrices. It has a vast number of applications, but crystallinity shows that there is poor miscibility with plastics and they tend to agglomerate while mixed with the matrix. So nanocellulose can only be for certain exclusive purposes, can only be used as a biofiller. So we went further to an animal source, which is chitosan, and it was explored as an alternative biofiller. Why chitosan? Because it is non-toxic. It is a biodegradable polymer of high molecular weight. It possesses positive ionic charges, giving the ability to chemically bind with negatively charged fats, lipids, proteins, and metal ions. And it has a great ability to form films, and the biocompatibility actually makes it a good candidate for multitude of applications. It can be functionalized. Why? Because it's a copolymer of amine and acetamide functionalities. And how it was prepared, actually we procured chitosan, but just to show that you can actually get chitosan from crab shell, we have taken the crab shell, ground the shell, and through acid treatment you actually remove the calcium part of the calcium carbonate part of the shell, and then you remove the proteins using alkali treatment, and finally a step of deacetylation by alkali treatment, you will get chitosan. So this is the composite which we proposed for food packaging application, that is mixing HDPE with chitosan. The process was carried out through a melt mixing procedure using Brabender plastograph, thanks to Cochin University of Science and Technology Polymer Science Department. We were able to mix HDPE and chitosan at 160 degrees Celsius with a free radical initiator dicumal peroxide and compatibilizer malic anhydride. And to two compositions, we added palm oil to see its plasticizing effect. And it was pressed at room temperature and compression molded and injection molded for further mechanical, thermal, dielectric, and further studies. The dielectric properties of a material, actually dielectric properties, thermal stability, mechanical properties, antimicrobial properties are some of the factors which needs to be investigated while choosing an efficient food packaging material. Among these factors, knowledge regarding the dielectric properties and thermal stability actually assume greater importance, as these help in understanding the interaction between the filler and the matrix with which the composites are being prepared. The dielectric constant of a material is actually related to the permittivity of a material. And we see that on addition of your chitosan, the permittivity actually decreases, the dielectric constant decreases. And a lag in the dielectric constant is observed at lower frequency regime, and this can be actually ascribed to the orientation polarization formed in the system, as the filler molecules require more time to get aligned in the composite so as to reach an equilibrium static field value. The HTP chitosan 5 actually exhibits a dielectric constant of around 1 when compared with the other composites, and this is attributed to the effective interaction within the components of the composite system. Further increase in the filler system actually can lead to agglomeration, causing a reduction in the free volume in the system, which is evidenced in the PAL studies. Dielectric loss was also studied, and we see that we have a maximum value obtained in the case of HTPE chitosan, which is a unique property and can be applied for food packaging systems. X-ray diffractometric studies also show the crystallinity values which can be seen to be lower and lowest in the case of HDPE chitosan 5, showing that there is better miscibility between HDPE and chitosan. Thermal analysis was carried out, and we see that the chitosan actually shows two peaks at 200 to 240 corresponding to degradation and deacetylation, and 450 to 690 corresponding to degradation of the carbonaceous residue. HDPE rho actually shows degradation from 398 to 508 degrees Celsius. So the final and initial degradation temperatures are tabulated, and the activation energy calculated shows that HDPEC5, chitosan 5-8% added samples, shows the maximum activation energy exhibiting highest stability and better miscibility, as can be seen from the positron annihilation lifetime spectroscopic studies. The technique actually operates on the principle that a positron or a positronium will annihilate through interaction with electrons. This annihilation actually releases gamma rays that can be detected, and the time from emission of positrons from a radioactive source and detection of gamma rays due to annihilation corresponds to lifetime of the positron. In molecular materials, the lifetime of orthopositronium is environment dependent. There are actually two positroniums, the parapositronium and the orthopositronium. Orthopositronium being in the triplet state with a characteristic self-annihilation lifetime of 142 nanoseconds in vacuum. So in molecular materials, we're actually looking at the lifetime of orthopositronium, and it is the lifetime is environment dependent, and it delivers information pertaining to the size of the void in which it resides. So it can actually give you an idea about the free volume that the material occupies. The dependence of lifetime and free volume on the composites is shown on the right hand side, and it is mainly associated with the size of the free volume in the polymer composite. Generally, as the filler concentration increases, the concentration of the free volume should decrease. The variation in values obtained for tau3 VF can be associated not only with the concentration of filler loading, but also with the miscibility as well as homogeneity of the composites. So this studies show that we have.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
We can include within 5 to 6 minutes.
Yes, sure.
You can have 5 more minutes.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So the biocompatibility studies actually shows that the values given shows that they have excellent cell proliferation properties, and the soil burial test show in slightly acidic soil cites that we have higher weight loss in the case of HDPE chitosan 5 weight percentage material. I think I can skip these. We had actually developed a material which we could use as a replacement for bone, cortical bone basically. This was as a result of the HDPE chitosan 5 optimized sample. We added palm oil, plasticized it, made it pliable, added hydroxyapatite to it, and we were able to generate a material with 8% hydroxyapatite, which looks more like bone. And even after the impact testing, you see that the sample is intact. So the previous reports on the cortical bone transverse direction, tensile strength, and the commercially available matrices that are available like HAPEX and HAPE composite with lane coupling, we see that the composite that we've prepared in our lab has got better properties with regard to tensile strength. And this work happened thanks to Kerala State's Council for Science, Technology and Environment through a science research scheme project. And we've already carried out IVA chitosan grafted polyaniline composites, and these are the few applications that chitosan-based composites can be put into. And I would like to gratefully acknowledge my research scholars, without whose help I won't be presenting this. Meryl Shelley, who took the responsibility for the HDPE chitosan hydroxyapatite system, Annie Steffi, who is currently working on EVA chitosan grafted polyaniline systems and other chitosan grafted systems, and Bashpa is working on rubber composites. I would like to gratefully acknowledge the management and staff of St. Joseph's College, Devagiri, and Dr. H.B. Ravikumar for the PAL studies, Dr. Pradyumnan Sir, Department of Physics for the Dielectric studies, Dr. Ashwati for the Biocompatibility studies, and finally the funding agencies, KSCST, RUSA, DBT, and DST for the funding that they have blessed us with. Yes, thank you. Thank you one and all. Hope I
Thank
have
you,
not
ma'am.
exceeded the time frame.
Yes. No. No. Thank you, ma'am, for the excellent.
Sorry, there was an issue with the internet. That's why I had to mute my video.
Okay. So if we have any, sorry.
Dr. Tanya, it's nice to see you. Nice to hear your work. I'm glad to
Thank you, sir.
know that college is, in a college, you are in a position to do reasonable work of quality within
Thanks
that
to
field and
many
social.
friends from IITs, ISERs who support us. And it's always a pleasure to be part of such a august gathering with Padma Shri Professor T. Pradeep. And it should have been a one-on-one meeting, sir.
Very good. So let me ask you one question
Yes, sir.
for want
Sure.
of time.
Yeah.
Well, chitosan has several other properties, as you mentioned, like metal ion uptake and anion uptake and things like that.
Yes.
So in the composite that you are preparing, if you are specifically targeting an application, I like the biomineralization kind of approaches. If you look at something like a bones or apatite incorporated materials and things, is it possible for you to look at other aspects of chitosan as well, which would be a greater advantage than traditional polymers? And that
Yes, sir.
way, is it
Actually,
possible to think of promoting some kind of a unique composite material for a specific application rather than beating, this whole story of substituting plastic,
yes, this was what was possible in our lab, but there is another aspect, like say the liquid crystalline aspect of chitosan, which we are planning on exploring. The liquid crystalline properties have been reported, but though the studies have not taken, so we need somebody to substantiate us on that characterization part. So we are looking at it, sir. Yes.
Well, there is a liquid, center for liquid crystals. I mean, which is
Yes,
now,
I know. Oh,
yeah.
one of my colleagues is associated with that center, and he's also a liquid crystalline material person. So we are thinking about it.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
If there is no other questions, let us thank once again Dr. Tanya Francis for the wonderful session.
Thank you.
Now,